Looking at our steering wheel here to start, on the right-hand side, we've got our plus gear, so we can add a gear there, or our minus in order to change gears. So that's really, really cool about the Mustang, the 10-speed, is that it does give you the flexibility to choose what gear you're in. Moving down to the left-hand side here, we've got our volume rocker, so we can increase or decrease the volume here, or we can mute the volume by pressing this middle button here. Next up, these two buttons here are going to allow us to change radio stations, or if we've got a phone connected, we can choose between what song we're listening to, or an MP3 player, etc. Next up, the vehicle is equipped with adaptive cruise control. So turning the cruise control button on here, as you can see at the top here, that's tweak something. So now we have the ability to set our cruise control speed. So once you've come up to the speed that you'd like to, whether you're on the highway or city driving, you're just going to press that set button there. Next one here is going to allow us to choose the distance that we are between the vehicle in front of us. So if we pay attention here, and as we press this button here, so we've got 4 different settings, which is going to dictate how close or how far away we are from the vehicle in front of us. Off to the right-hand side here, these buttons are going to allow us to switch between some active screens here. And in order to be able to reset our screen, all we're going to do is press and hold the OK button. And that's going to reset our trip 1, 2, etc. This button here is going to be our voice command button, so that gives us the ability to do things such as change the radio station, we can navigate somewhere, we can make a phone call, etc., all by pressing the button here. Jumping down now, we've got our Nav button. Nav is going to pull up available destinations, which is really, really cool, which means you don't have to look at that Sync 3 screen anymore. Jumping back, so we can either press the Nav button in order to get rid of it, or we can press the back button up here. Next up, we've got our phone answer or our hang up button. So if you've got an incoming phone call, you'd press the button here. In order to hang up, you'd press the button down here. Off to the side here, we've got our settings button. Now settings, we've got a ton of options, so let's go through some things. So we've got our ability to look at the trip and fuel info there. Driver assist settings, so we've got the auto engine off. So with this thing selected here, it's automatically going to kill power to the engine. In some cases, when we come to a stop at a light or a stop sign. It doesn't happen all the time, it does happen occasionally. Next up, we've got our blind spot system there. So blind spot system is going to let us know if anybody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle, and that's going to be done through this little guy right here. So that's going to highlight and that's going to go orange when somebody's entered the blind spot in our vehicle. Next up, we've got our pre-collision assist, and pre-collision assist, essentially, if the vehicle senses there's a potential oncoming collision, it's going to pre-charge the brakes. If you don't respond, using active braking, it'll automatically brake for you. With distance indication, it's going to let you know if you're coming too close to a potential collision. Cross-traffic alert, if there's a vehicle that's coming perpendicular to you, so either the left or the right-hand side, it's going to let you know. So there's going to be a chime and there's going to be a message up on the screen letting you know that there's a potential collision. Cruise control, you've either got the adaptive or the normal cruise. Guys, once you figure out how the adaptive cruise control system works, I guarantee you're never ever going to want to use the regular cruise control again. It's a really, really cool system. Driver alert is tied into the lane keeping system. So if you get too many alerts for the lane keeping system because you're veering over into a lane without signaling, you're going to get a message saying that you should probably rest. Rear parking aid is that beeping that we're going to get as we get closer to an obstacle behind us. And then looking at the lane keeping system, we've got 3 different options. So an alert, aid, or the alert and the aid. The alert is going to be a shake on the steering wheel, I should say. Next up is going to be our aid, which is going to actually recenter us and pull us back into our lane. And then the alert and the aid is going to do exactly that. So it's going to give you a little bit of a steering wheel shake, and it's going to recenter you into your lane. Looking at the intensity now, we've got 3 different intensity levels. So we've got a high, medium, or a low setting. It's obviously whatever your personal preference is there. And perfect, there we go. So we've got our wipers now, courtesy wipe and rain sensing. So I do recommend keeping the rain sensing wipers on. You can adjust them from here if you'd like to. In order to turn the windshield wipers on, we're just going to press down for a single wipe, or you can lift up in order to control the speed, and using this to control the intensity of the speed as well. In order to use the windshield wiper fluid, we're just going to pull the stick in towards us. And that'll turn it on from there. Courtesy wipe, if you leave that turned on when the vehicle started, it's going to give you 1 wipe. I don't recommend keeping that one on. There's no real benefit to doing it. Moving back here and back again, we've now got the ability to add in the miles per hour as well as our kilometers per hour there. Personal preference. And into our advanced settings, we've got the alarm. So when is the alarm going to be turned on exit? Easy entry exit. Do you need to actually use the unlock button on the key fob in order for the vehicle to unlock? Lighting here, so our delays, so we can either, when the vehicle is locked, how long do the lights stay on for? 10, 20, or 120 seconds. Auto high beam, really, really cool feature. Rather than grabbing that left stick here and pulling in, or pushing away to use the high beams, automatic high beams will automatically adjust the high beams. It'll turn them on or off as necessary. So I do recommend keeping that one turned on. Moving back now, we've got our lock, so we can do an auto unlock, mislock, remote unlock, etc. When the vehicle's remote unlocked, what happens? Do all doors get unlocked or just the driver door first? And that's it. From our oil life reset, we can reset the oil life here if we'd like to. If we use remote start, what happens? On the bottom here, we can turn it off completely, or we can either use, for climate control, the auto setting. So that's going to mean that the vehicle's automatically to determine what the interior temperature should be, or we can use the last setting for when the vehicle was previously turned off. Seats and wheels, same idea. Are they automatically going to be adjusted? And then the duration of the remote start, 5, 10, or 15 minutes. Next up, that tire mobility kit. So the goop that's in there is good for 4 years. So you should get it replaced after 4 years. This essentially is going to give you a reminder letting you know when that happens. Lastly is going to be the windows, so the remote open, which we did cover a minute ago, using the key fob instead in order to roll down those windows. And that's going to be it for our basic settings there. And jumping down here. Oh, cool. Okay. So those are all of our basic settings, which means we're looking at 2 last buttons on the bottom here. So this is going to be our audio button. Lets us switch between what audio source we're listening to. So press it again to get rid of it, or hit that back button. And the last one, our little pony button. I swear I'm not a brony, but it's My Little Pony. So, oh God, that's weird. All right, so going into my mode, so you can change if you've got an active mode there. Exhaust mode, so the exhaust mode is only available if you've got the active valve performance exhaust. We can switch between that quiet, normal, sport, track, or a quiet start mode. Quiet start mode is good if you live in a residential neighborhood with neighbors that like to complain all the time. So quiet start mode essentially is going to keep the vehicle quiet when you first turn it on. And then here is going to be how long it goes quiet for. So kind of neat. Track apps, we've got a ton of different options here. So this really is if you're using it on a track, so it gives you a number of different options looking at brake performance, locks, etc. So cool. I love pony mode. Love it. Jumping back into the pony settings here, we've now got the ability to tweak our gauges, so we can show the gauges here. So as you can see, we've got a number of different things that are showing here. One thing that I didn't point out on the right side here, so we've got our oil pressure gauge as well as our vacuum gauge here as well. So we can see the vacuum gauge here rather than looking off to the right hand side there. Moving down, now we can take a look at our brake performance there as well. And then jumping back into pony mode and going down, we can tweak the color. So the color of the screen here, which is kind of neat. So if you have a preference there, as you can see, we can jump between a few different colors. You can create your own color there as well too if you'd like. And then it's the same idea for the secondary color and the ambient light. Ambient light's going to be the lights that are going to be throughout the vehicle. So in the door handles there, in the cup holders, etc. And then lastly is going to be cluster appearance, so what we want that to look like. Again, it's all a matter of personal preference, but guys, play around with this because you're going to get a setting that you absolutely love and that you end up falling in love with. But next up, let's take this thing for a little bit for a spin and have a little bit of fun with it.